ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवन् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुक एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So Hare Krishna, welcome back to another session of Bhagavad Gita in 18 days. So to start, we will want to sum up what we did yesterday in chapter 13. Volunteers Archana Mataji, you were not there yesterday. Can you sum up?
Sure, Mataji. I was there yesterday.
Acha, acha, okay, sorry. Please, Mataji, please continue.
Okay. Okay. So chapter 13 is the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. So, the this personally, I feel that this chapter is very heavy for me to understand. Uh, the Lord created system based on our desires, and based on our desires, we will either choose to be happy or choose to be suffer in our life. So in this chapter starts when Arjuna asks 6 questions to Krishna, and he wants to know actually about Prakriti, Purusha, knowledge, field of activity, who knows this field, and object of knowledge. So all these 6 questions, 6 things Arjuna wants to know from Krishna. So Arjuna starts with answering with the field of activity and who knows this. So the field of activity, Krishna says that it's certain body where who knows this is the jiva, the individual soul, the atma. So who knows this is uh, explained by an example where you've told that so there is a person who has a backyard, but every backyard has a fence which has some boundaries. The person knows that boundaries, and all this nothing goes beyond this boundaries. The field of activity is restricted, and our field of activity is based on our karma and desire. So the Lord is knower of all the souls, but Jiva or Atma is only knower of a specific body. So when comes to answering knowledge, knowledge is understanding both soul and super soul, where Paramat and super soul, knowledge is understanding both soul and super soul, and Paramatma is in everyone's soul, and the body is the source where we come in contact with material nature. So the thought, the liberation consciousness is something where you think I am not the body but I am the soul. Then, like, there are many fruits in the nature and what we choose to eat decides our future. So our body desires what we choose to eat. Like example, animals doesn't know the taste of sweets. Like if you feed animals sweets also, they refuse to eat. They are not attracted by it because the body is made like that. And also you gave us a example of swan, where swan has the capability of, when water and milk are mixed together and offered to swan, swan has the capability to only take milk while leaving out the water. So this is how the swan is created. And the karma means creating another field of activity based on our choices and actions. And bhakti is all about jnana and karma. And we then discussed
Krishna,
about,
Mataji, bhakti is not about Jnana and Karma.
okay.
It is above Jnana and Karma. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, sorry.
It is
Okay, but
above Jnana and Karma.
all about jnana and karma. And then we discussed about five koshas of consciousness: Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So Annamaya is something it's minimal consciousness, which when you of food or physical matter. Pranamaya is life force, energy, breath, and all. Jnanamaya is mind and thought process, where Vijnanamaya is synchronizing physical and mental bodies. Anandamaya is unbounded freedom, like joyness of a true nature, blissful. So these are the five questions of consciousness. And human body, human birth has the higher intellect. It can understand God. We are not sure we may get this human birth in next birth or not, but it has the highest intellect compared to any other births. So then we discuss the topic field of activity, which has 24 elements, which is Panchamahabhutas, that are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Then their uh, respective senses, which are Jnanendriyas, the sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. And the
Hare Krishna,
next,
Mataji. I will correct here again. Sorry
okay,
to interrupt because you have to have clarity. The Jnana Indriyas are um, ear, eyes, tongue, skin, and nose.
hmm,
These are the Gyan Indriyas. Through these Indriyas, we perceive the world. Inputs are all gathered here. Then you have the Karm Indriyas. The Karm Indriyas are hands, legs, mouth, genitals, and
genitals and
rectum. And then you have the corresponding sense objects. The sense objects are hearing, seeing, uh,
sound,
tasting,
taste,
smelling, and mm,
touch,
touch skin, yeah, touching. So these are the corresponding sense objects.
senses.
Sense
Okay,
objects, actually, they are.
thank you, Mataji.
And
And
there are three subtle senses: mind, intelligence, false ego, and the fourth here, 24th element is the contaminated consciousness. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but this has to
no,
be
no, no problem,
corrected. Yeah,
Mataji.
yeah. Okay, Mataji, please continue. Very nice.
Yeah. Then after this 20 elements, there are three supple senses. Those are mind, intelligence, and false ego. And there is one contaminated contaminated consciousness is the 24th element. So all our activities are designed by all these 24 elements. And then Arjuna asked, what is knowledge? So there are 20 qualities of knowledge. These are cultivated in a person who is sufficiently purified. It is not developed in lower spaces of life, like only human beings know that. And person who knows Krishna knows everything, and these qualities should be inculcated if you want to know about God. and body has nothing to do with these qualities. There are all in our consciousness. And object of knowledge, you have to take guidance from a person who has these qualities you get in order to you attain these qualities. A person with humility, pridelessness, non-violence, simplicity, tolerance, cleanliness is uh, can easily get this knowledge. Like it is a process to truly get this knowledge. And and Mataji, after this, like it was so heavy to understand to me, so I have to go through the recording again to complete my notes.
No problem, Maataji. Thank you so much. You summed up beautifully. The sixth question was the knowable, the object of knowledge. So that is the super soul. And in the field of activities where what is Gnayam, who is the knower of the field of activities, you missed this point. There are two knowers for the field of activities. One is the soul, which is limited, and the second is the super soul. So no matter, so Gyan and Karma, they are restricted to just the soul. The super soul, without the knowledge of the super soul, all knowledge is incomplete. Because just by knowing the field of activity and the limited soul, which is the knower of the field of activity, VM, you will not derive any happiness. Happiness will come only when you know about the actual source of all happiness. That is the super soul, Paramatma or Lord Sri Krishna. So our knowledge is incomplete if we have come. So you see all the research work going on in the world, all kind of development, technology, everything is restricted to this field of activity. It's just that we as humans have a wider field of activities because of our higher intellect. But all these things will not give you happiness till there is knowledge of the super soul, who is the source of all happiness. So the problem that happens is we spend lot of time and energy knowing about the field of activities and maybe the knower also to some extent, Nayam, the soul, but nobody inquires about the super soul, who is the actual complete knowledge, knowable. So I know, Mataji, this is a heavy chapter, and in the chapter itself, it is mentioned that till a person with sadhana is not purified, he will not be able to understand all this. So, no problem. As your sadhana increases, as you purify. So, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita for God knows which time now. I have read it so many times. And I feel that I still do not know even a fraction of it. So no problem. We are all in the same boat. So we will keep purifying and keep reading Bhagavad Gita again. And each time you read Bhagavad Gita with further purification, it will have a different meaning. You will understand more. The Lord will reveal Himself, this knowledge in our heart. So we continue with our Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Shloka number 1. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Param Bhuya Pravakshami Jnanam Jnanam Uttamam Yajyatva Munaya Sarve Param Siddhim Itogatyati. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained the supreme perfection. So here we see that there is connection between chapter 13 and chapter 14. So what is that connection? In the previous chapter, we had the sloka 13.22. That is Purusha Prakriti Sohi Bhunke Prakriti Jan Guna Karana Guna Sangasya Sat Asat Yoni Janashu. So Karana Guna Sangasya. So the meaning is that living entity in material nature, they are uh, following ways of life based on their association with Karana Guna Sangasya, based on their association with the three modes of material nature. So now we are going to learn that how these three modes, what are these three modes of material nature and how they influence us. So chapter 13 describes the conditioned soul as distinct from material nature, yet entangled by it, trapped within his field of activity. So it is trapped, but what is the force which is trapping it? That force is the three modes of material nature. Their guna is also another name for ropes. So just as ropes tie us, these gunas tie us to our, uh, now you're not a bird. Your field of activity is restricted to just walking or maybe running. At the most, you can swim. But can you fly? You may have an airplane, you will create a facility to fly. But naturally, can you fly? No. So your field of activity is restricted only there. So chapter 14 reveals in detail how the living entity is limited and controlled within his field by the powerful shackles of material nature. The three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So what is this material nature? Material nature is these three modes, the tamoguna, rajoguna, and sattvaguna. At the end of the chapter 14, Krishna informs us how to attain freedom from these modes. So this whole purpose now here, all this knowledge that we are gaining, all the dan, tap, yag, all the activities we undertake for our purification, they are to get free from these three ropes, the tamoguna, the rajoguna, and the sattvaguna. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained the supreme perfection." How with this knowledge you can attain what is supreme perfection? To get out of the cycle of birth and death and engage in Lord's loving service. This is perfection of our life. So Krishna uses the word bhuya again. So why he is using? To indicate that he will repeat the knowledge he mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 13.22. So now he says, again I am going to explain further, like more clarity. See how the living entities, they get tied down. How is this knowledge best of all? Uh, Again, I will speak a kind of knowledge different from what I have spoken so far. It deals specifically with the modes of nature. It is the best of all kinds of knowledge about the Prakriti and the Jiva, and it resembles a distillation of yogurt from milk. Realizing this knowledge and meditating on it thoughtfully, all great sages have attained in this very world correct perception of the Supreme Soul. So why this knowledge is important? So that we can perceive the super soul, the Paramatma, and also we can see the activities of our own soul, introspection. Now here, uh, nobody can see what is going on in another person's mind. Only we can see what is going on in our mind inside. It's another thing that sometimes we ourselves want to cheat ourselves. But introspection is that powerful tool which helps us to watch over our own activities. Now, our own activities, what parameters we must use to introspect our activities? How? How we must utilize this parameter of three modes of material nature in analyzing our own self and then rectify. So Srila Prabhupada's purport introduces the subjects of this chapter and links them to chapter 13. From 7th chapter to the end of 12th chapter, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth. So in chapter from 6 to 12, we came to know about God, about Bhakti Yoga. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, now the Lord Himself, is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. So some people, you see, they don't. Why should you do bhakti? What will happen? Will it benefit our life? This, that. They will argue. So for people who want logical answers, for them the Jnana Yoga helps because they are not purified enough to accept the supremacy of Lord as per the devotees. They want logical answers. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in the material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attain perfection. So, usually we see that Srila Prabhupada decries philosophical, speculation, all this intellectual, because God is beyond all logic and reason. Actually, God is that. But then there are some people who want this kind of reasoning. So absolute truth by one's limited intellectual strength in his purport. However, Srila Prabhupada invites readers to engage in philosophical speculation. Here, philosophical specification refers to hearing from bona fide sources and then using one's intelligence to understand what has been heard. In the next verse, Krishna further glorifies the knowledge and explains in this chapter. 2. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So by knowing about the three gunas and how to get out of them, one will not be, born again at the time of creation. No field of activity will be. The field of activity is like binding the soul to a limited area, not free to go anywhere else. It is bound strictly by a fence You cannot break that fence and get out. It's not possible. Very strong. So here, how we can get out of this fence will be explained. 3. The total material substance called the Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O Shayan of Bharata. So here, when Brahman term is used, Mahat Brahman. So the source of Brahman is the Lord. Brahman is the effulgence coming out of the body of the Lord. And a part of this Brahman is the Mahatattva. So Mahatattva is the material sky. Brahman is the entire spiritual sky. And this Mahatattva is compared to a cloud, dark cloud in bright light. Why this ocean is dark? Due to lack of true knowledge. So that is why we need a source of light here. Whereas the spiritual abode is brightly self-lit. There is no need of any external light there. So this now the Lord is talking about this material portion within the Brahman, a portion there, dark portion. So this is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to combination of Kshetra and Kshetragya, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entities made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of total cosmic manifestation and that total substance of material cause in which there are three modes of nature is sometimes called Brahman. So why this Mahatattva is here the term Brahman is being used? Because Mahatattva came later. Earlier the entire thing was a spiritual sky. So the Supreme Personality impregnates the total substance and thus innumerable universes become possible. So to even for an embryo to be put into a womb, you need the father and the mother. You need the male hormone and the female hormone. That we all know. Similarly, even when this material creation, all these 24 elements had come, these three modes, they became operational only when the Lord impregnated Mother Nature with his Divya Drishti or his sight. The Lord doesn't need to, perform some activity to consummate or something. Just we have earlier read also that the Lord is potent to perform activity of any sense with another. He can, if he wants, he can just, uh, he can eat with his eyes, he can impregnate with his eyes, he can walk with his eyes. We can't do that. We are limited. So this total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature sometimes. Tasmadeta Brahma Nana Rupam Annam Cha Jayate. Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.19. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of living entities. The 24 elements beginning from earth, water, fire, air, all are material energy and they constitute what is called as the Mahad Brahma or the great Brahman, the material nature. The Mahatattva, it's like a inert matter comprising of these 24 elements until the Lord energizes it with his vision. They don't become operational. They're just dead matter. So he implants the seed of these living entities. He's the seed giving father. in this material world with just by putting his vision on the material nature. So there is another superior nature beyond this material nature, which we have already discussed. So here there is a very nice example given by Srila Prabhupada that the scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice. The eggs of scorpion, they are just like rice grains. So what happens, sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the truth is that actually the scorpion lays eggs in the rice, and suddenly we see out of the rice pile scorpions are coming. So people think, oh, the scorpion, the rice, it is born out of rice. But actually the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, the material nature is not the cause of birth of living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as a product of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to its past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so the entity can enjoy or suffer according to its past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in the material world. So suppose there is a nice woman, beautiful woman, she's quite capable, fertile, everything. But if there is no father, how will she conceive? She cannot do anything on her own. The father has to be there to give the seed. So here, who is the seed giving father? I am the seed giving father, O Arjuna. And the material nature is energized by my will. 4. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in the material nature, and that I am the seed giving father. This we have discussed. 5. Material nature consists of the three modes. So, what is this material nature? What is it that gets it going? The material nature consists of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Broadly, these three modes are very strong influences. So when the living entities, the jivas, are injected in the Mahatattva by the Supreme Lord, he releases these jivas in the Mahatattva because these jivas have had the desire to enjoy independently from the Lord. So when they are released here, they come in contact with the three modes of material nature. Just like you leave some prisoners in the jail, and in the jail, even if there is a nice person, he will come in contact with smugglers, he will come in contact with dacoits, murderers, different types of people. And then his association will be like that. He will learn things which he had never learned before. Like that, the living entities are coming into the Mahatattva, and here they come in contact with these three modes. And based on the choice about which mode they want to associate with more, becomes the cause of their entanglement. Because when you come in association with these three modes, you get the respective qualities and desires accordingly. And your desires and activities become the cause of your next field of activity. So, the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. So 6, O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating. and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. And now the Lord has started describing these modes. So he starts with Sattva Gun. Sattva means pure, pure state of existence. So amongst the three modes, this is the purest. But nevertheless, even the mode of goodness binds. It is not beyond the Mahatattva. Conditions apply. So what is that conditioning one acquires if he associates with the mode of goodness, Sattva Gun? Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So because their living is pure, they are happy and they are in knowledge. They know what is good. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. They are the wisest. Wisdom and knowledge are two different things. Wisdom is actually applied science. Knowledge is information. So information is of no use if you don't know the application. You have a stockpile of dictionaries, but you do not know how to phrase sentences. What is the use? So a man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by the material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. Does it mean that the people who are born in goodness don't have material miseries? It's not like that. They also have material miseries, but their perception of life, wisdom is so deep that the effect of these miseries is minimized. It does not affect their happiness for long. I had given this example earlier also. My mother, when she passed away, we had visited an ISKCON temple, and they said we must not go to temple for so many. So we said no, we cannot come to the temple, but the director, he invited us. So we went, and then he explained, what is Sutak, why we must not go to temple for so many days. Because we must not go to the temple in a contaminated state of mind. So grief is a very big contamination. It is born out of ignorance of the self. When we are in grief, uh, we are in a contaminated state. And it differs from person to person. This grief, some are able to come out of it fast, like Brahmanas come out of grief in just 3 days. So the Sutak mentioned in the Shastra for Brahmanas is only 3 days. The fourth day they are out, Chautha Disena. And for Kshatriyas, I think it's 13 days. They get out of it. They take a little longer to get out of the grief of a departed soul. And for Vaishyas, it is 21 days. They take, because they are not that much in knowledge, they cannot get out of that difficult situation fast mentally. And for Shudras, it is 1 year. They do Varina and all, 1 year. So finally, and there are some people, who don't get out of that grief lifelong. They ruin their life, the life of others with this grief, though it is the way nature works. The people who are in Sattva Guna, they can come out of their grief fast. It's not that they don't have miseries. They have, but they have a better understanding. So, he's advanced in knowledge and is better than the others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientists and philosophers. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness is conditioned life, makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. But there is a problem even here. They start feeling puffed up because they think they are very intelligent. So having knowledge and happiness makes you proud. So they become conditioned. The sense of advanced happiness in conditioned lives makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted towards working in the mode of goodness. And as long as they have attraction for working in that way, they have to take some body in the modes of material nature. So our attraction towards the material world, they think that they are very intelligent, and with their intelligence they can acquire knowledge and happiness. There is a natural tendency to acquire knowledge. That hunger for knowledge is there in Sattva Guna. And likewise, as long as you are attracted to some result, whether it is happiness or knowledge also, you will have to take another body. So the criteria to get out of here is no attraction for anything in the material world. Annabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anamritam. Jnana, karma, no attraction for that also. No desire for any result. This is the criteria to get out of here. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or being transferring to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in some disadvantage of birth and death. But due to the illusion of material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant. So I asked some younger generation also, they consider that a life where there is knowledge and there is happiness is pleasant. So this is also attraction. The three modes attract us to different things. They are the cause of our likes and dislikes based on what we choose to be conditioned with. This is the choice. And these choices, they improve with higher intellect. When you are in knowledge, you can choose appropriately. For which purpose? So the Vedas, you see, why should Vyasdev, he compiled the 18 Puranas, 6 in the mode of ignorance, 6 in the mode of passion, 6 in the mode of goodness, because people have choice. God has given them the choice. You want to associate with Tamoguna, do so. There are 6 books, Puranas for that. These conditions will apply. There is a process you want to enjoy like this, do so. Then there are people who are more attracted to Rajogun. There are 6 Puranas from them. You want to enjoy in this way, conditions apply. Here are there. These yagnas you have to perform, this you have to do. And there are 6 Puranas for people who are in Sattva Guna, highest purity amongst the modes of material nature. For them, there are 6 Puranas, which give guidelines to get out of even Sattva Guna. All the Puranas which are in Sattva Guna prepare us to get out of the control of these modes of material nature. 7. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. So Sattva Guna, happiness and knowledge. And what is the result of Rajo Guna? It is born, the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. You have so many desires that you have to slog it out. O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodying living entities bound to material fruitive action. They have so many desires and they think that if they work towards this material desires, they will be happy. So they have unlimited desires. Likewise, they have unlimited work on hand also. No time for self-realization. They work hard, they get some fruit. They are sometimes happy with the fruit, they are sometimes not happy with the fruit, not completely satisfied. Again, they work hard, again, they get their fruit. So, like that, the cycle goes on. The mode of passion is characterized by attraction between the man and woman. The biggest symptom of this Rajogun is the attraction. In Sattva Gun, person is really not by the attraction. In Sattva Gun, he is more after knowledge and happiness. So the mode of passion is characterized by attraction between man and woman. Actually, from here the degradation starts. In Sattva Guna, one will not commit very degraded, sinful activity. He will material plane, but not degraded. From the platform, at least if you are on Sattva Gun, you will not come down further. The activities will be advanced in such a way towards acquiring knowledge and happiness. He will not come down. But when you come in contact with Rajogun and Tamogun, very dangerous. So, this is called the mode of woman has attraction for man and man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, a man in the mode of passion wants some honor in the society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. So sometimes we think, in spite of working hard, we have not got, because the mode of passion is such. The attraction for man and woman also is very strong. Sometimes it yields good results, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you are happy with the association, sometimes you are not. Then because actually the meaning of the word three is expansion, vistar, three. So when you are attracted, so the desire to enjoy more develops automatically. And unlimited desires develop inside us. And to fulfill these desires, you endeavor, you work. So all your activities, it's like, going at a high speed in that uh, well in the exhibition, no? That Maut Ka Kuan which you call. You're working, 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 going round and round, but at the same place. What will be your next field of activity? It will be the same because your desires are unlimited. Again, you will be born in the same mode. You will get a similar, as per your desires, so many unlimited desires. You will get your next field of activity. Soon that this the body, it's like a timer is there in that. And tick, 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 tick. As soon as the duration of your life is a dog, suppose is 12 years is over, tuck, the body goes. Human being 70, 80, maybe 90, 100, then the body goes. The timer is already fixed. So therefore it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, society, to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? So even in the mode of goodness, a person gets very conditioned to happiness and gaining knowledge. Look at the demigods, Devatas. The Indra, they have, because of their being in goodness, they get a higher planetary, a higher standard of living in the Swarga Loka. But they are so conditioned to that living that whenever there is a danger or risk of losing that, they become fearful. Even Indra becomes fearful, all the demigods, they become fearful. And they are trying to protect their kingdom, that status, that prestige. And they get puffed up with that higher standard. And then later they commit sinful activities, and then again they are thrown down into the mode of passion and ignorance. There has been a story pastime here that once, Lord Indra, he was sitting in his courtyard, court and on his throne. And his guru, Brahaspati, he walks in. And Indra is seeing a dance. And when he is watching that dance, of Apsaras, he doesn't notice his guru. Or maybe in his mind, he thinks in the morning only I had paid obeisances to him. So I'm busy enjoying this dance. Now there is no need to pay obeisances to my guru. And Brahaspati, the guru, he's a yogi, he can see his mind, he can read his mind. So he says there, he curses him and he says, you are so engrossed in the sense gratification, you do not know the result. May the next field of your activities be the body of a pig. Because pig is considered very, high in sense gratification, unrestricted. So Indra doesn't want any disturbance in his sense gratification. So what will this kind of a mentality yield? Brahaspati tells him. And next birth is born as a pig. Unrestricted sense gratification. No discrimination of good and bad. Eat anything, drink anything, have as many wives as you want, as many children as you want. You have all the filthiest things also. Nobody will say no. You want to eat stool also, it is allowed. So people think that no restriction means maximum sense gratification. So this is the mentality of a pig, enjoying unrestrictedly. And when Indra is in this pitiful condition, he's enjoying himself thoroughly as a pig in, Nala, eating stool and all garbage every day. He has many wives with whom he has relationships. And out of them are born little piglets, so many, dozens of them. So many wives, so many piglets, unrestricted sense gratification. So when Narad Muni sees him, he's passing by, says, what has Indra done to himself? Just by that desire to enjoy more, just look at his state of existence, so pitiful. And he goes to Indra and he tells him, Indra, what is the state you are in? You were the king of heaven. And see what has happened. I feel very sorry for you. So he says, why don't you go back to Swarg? You were the king of heaven. So Indra says, Swarg, what is that? So Narad Muni tells him, it's very beautiful, it's clean, it's sparkling, there are fragrant flowers there, everybody is beautiful, you have rivers of milk flowing there. He describes. So Indra, as a pig, he says, but these don't attract me. Is there a nala there? So Narad Muni is shocked because the influence of the uh, modes of material nature is so strong that it conditions us into liking even filthiest of things. A worm in the stool never thinks that his life is abominable. He is happy eating in living in that stool. There are worms in stool also. That is also life. But look at the conditioning. So the biggest fear that one can have in his lifetime is, going into these lower species of life after death. This is the biggest concern that one should have, at least one who is in knowledge. So, a man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries. He has a sense of advancement. No, we were not here. We were in the mode of passion. So, 8. O son of Bharta, know that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So each and every mode has a peculiar quality. It will induce these kind of desires and these kinds of activities. So a person who is more in association with the mode of ignorance, the mode of ignorance is very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a mad man cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Vastu yathatmya jnana varkam viparaya jnana janakam tama. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see the grandfather has died and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for eternal spirit. This is madness. In the madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very, very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are naturally not attracted to inculcating knowledge. And knowledge actually is knowing about the self and the Supreme Lord. The rest is all to put the body and soul together. We may enhance our standard of living for sense gratification. So, if you see a very highly advanced environment, office, but people have no sense control, they are not attracted towards the knowledge of the self. Actually, they are in a very degraded condition, just like the pig. So to complete the story, Narad Muni says, why don't you go up? So the pig asked, is there a nala there? Narad Muni said, no. Abhila, all these my wives, so many wives, this big wives be there. He says, no, there are apsaras there. And will my, piglets be there? No. So then Indra says, then what kind of a swarag are you talking about? That is narak for me. This is my swarag. So conditioning does this to us. Your choice of associating with a particular mode will change your likes and dislikes, your attraction and aversions. So today, if you see, everybody is in the mode of ignorance. They are running, running, running. They have no attraction for any spiritual realization or cultivation of knowledge. They are not even active like a man who is controlled by the mode of passion. They don't work also. They are lazy. Given an opportunity, they work only forcefully for their illegitimate desire. And that also they want to actually stop because they lose all discretion. What is my good? What is my bad? You know, just like a dog, he will pounce on a bone on a heavy traffic road without thinking that one of the vehicles can just kill me. Their discretion is so corrupted. Thus, another symptom of this embedded in mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient because he exhausts himself in all the food he eats. He has no discretion. He eats whatever he finds tasty without any, knowledge. But a man in mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxication and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by a mode of ignorance. A little disturbance and they will go into depression. They are dejected always, grief. So these kind of people, they have no discretion. They don't even have the ability to make choices. They're so degraded. 9. O son of Bharta, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness and passion, uh, one to happiness. So, and passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. So, what are the results? Sattvagun, it conditions one to happiness. Rajogun conditions one to fruitive activities, fruits of action. And ignorance conditions one to madness. Matlab, I am free. Actually, when Srila Prabhupada went to the West, to US, there were hippies. Deep in the mode of ignorance. Mad. No power of reason. So when Srila Prabhupada saw them, he felt very sorry actually, because they are so conditioned that even if you are going to talk to them, it will not make any sense to them. So Srila Prabhupada initially he wouldn't even talk, he just used to give them prasadam. And gradually, just because of associating with prasadam, their intellect changed. He gave them a higher association. That is the process. So 10, sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharta, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance. And at other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So it's not that somebody is purely situated in passion, purely situated in goodness, or purely situated in ignorance. There are grades, there are mixtures. In fact, there are these three gunas are compared to three primary colors: red, yellow, blue. And sometimes when yellow and blue mixes, it becomes green, dark, light. Red and yellow mixes orange shades. Red and blue mixes browns, you know. Like that, there are so many. 3 into 3 is 9. 9 into 9 is 81. All in all, 84 lakh species of life are created by permutation and combinations of these three modes. Different uh, fields of activity based on the mixture of these gunas. So when the mode of passion is prominent, the mode of goodness and ignorance are defeated. When the mode of, so this we have read. Therefore, one who is actually intent on advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of some certain modes of nature is manifested in one's dealings, his activities, in eating, etc. All this will be explained in the later chapters. But if one wants, he can develop by practice the modes of goodness and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and passion. One can similarly develop the mode of passion and defeat the goodness and ignorance. Or one can develop the mode of ignorance and defeat goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness. By transcending the modes of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called Vasudeva state. So they say that Sattva Gun is the launching pad for bhakti. But so if you want to get out of these modes, you must first take a helicopter which takes you out from the influence, and the launching pad is Sattva Guna. Without this launching pad, you can never fly out of these modes. So at least, and we have to rise even above Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna is only the launching pad. You have to fly to another planet, another realm, which is known as the pure goodness or Shuddha Sattva. So these practices of bhakti, they are beyond that. Lord has himself said that a person who is engaged in my transcendental service, the gunas cannot influence him. Why? Because he has left all his likes and dislikes behind. He is performing his activities as per the desire of the super soul. The desire yields an activity of field of activity. If there is no desire for personal sense gratification, the only desire is to fulfill the desire of the Satchidanand Lord. The field of activity which will be provided will be Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. You will get this field of activity instead of the other field of activities. So your next body in pure goodness will be a spiritual body. It's not that nowhere in the Shastra it is written that people in the spiritual realm do not have a form. In fact, the form is described. They look just like the Lord, like the Chaturbhuj. The only difference is the Kaustuba and There are signs on Lord's hands and feet. Everybody, Sarupya Mukti, everybody gets. It is there in the Shastra. You will get a form which is spiritual, which is not under the modes of material nature, on which there is no effect of time. It is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. The manifestations, 11, the manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. So, how will you know that a person is in Sattva Guna? There are 9 gates in the body: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position, one can hear in the right position, and one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is development of symptoms of happiness. That is the position of goodness. So you are happy in spite of having miseries, also, you are still happy. How will you see? Sometimes, youngsters, how can one be happy in, living in one loin cloth and one jhopadi? So, a person who is in mode of goodness, the symptom is that he is happy no matter what his condition is, because he is in knowledge of the self. So, all these gates, all 9 gates through which the living entity enjoys the ways of life, they are happy and satisfied condition. Like the ears, normally they always want to hear praise. But because he's in knowledge, even if he's criticized, he doesn't let it enter him. He knows that because of this person's ignorance, he is finding faults in me, so it's okay, move ahead. Sometimes he has food to eat, sometimes he doesn't have food to eat. So, no, this is the God's desire, it is meant for my austerity, so don't be bewildered, move ahead. So, Sattva is like that. 12. O chief of Bhartas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. So, one in the mode of passion is never satisfied with what he already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if it would be able to reside in that house eternally. They don't understand the temporariness of things. They work very hard. And he develops great hankering for sense gratification. They're very attached to their property, to their children, to their wife, and they have great hankering to acquire all these things. He always wants to remain with his family in his house and continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion. 13. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Guru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. So, in the mode of ignorance, when there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. One in the mode of ignorance does not work by regulative principle. This is the first symptom. Like the hippies, no regulation. Don't take bath, don't wear clothes, don't, no restriction to what you eat, to what you drink. Madness, just running here, there, things. So So one in the mode of ignorance does not work by regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no engagement. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. There are symptoms of the one in mode of ignorance. These are the symptoms. So he doesn't work. He wants to behave whimsically. He doesn't want to follow any rules and regulations. He has no purpose in life. He just eating, sleeping, faring, meeting, that's all whimsically. 14. When one dies in the, now Lord will explain what happens when we die conditioned in such modes. What's the result? When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planetary planets of the great sages. So when a person quits his body in this condition, the pious souls who are in the mode of goodness, they go to the higher planetary systems. Just like uh, the modes of goodness are there in human beings, they are there in the planetary systems also. The higher planetary systems are all situated in the mode of goodness, Sattva Gun. People who are in Sattva Gun go there. People who are in mode of, passion, that is what will be explained in 15 and 16, they come back here to the middle three planets, Bhuloka, because this is meant for people in Rajogun. They have so many desires, and here you can work for those desires. And people who quit their body, in Tamogun, the result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness, but the action done in mode of passion results in misery, and the action performed in mode of ignorance, it results in foolishness. So these people who are in mode of uh, ignorance, they think that by acting whimsically, they are going to enjoy unendingly, and they make choices which throws them into the lower species of life, especially lower animal kingdom, lower planetary systems, where miseries increase double times. The result of pious activities in mode of goodness is pure. Therefore, the sages who are free from all illusions are situated in happiness. But activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. As far as mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities result in present misery. And afterwards, he will go on towards animal life. So people who are in mode of ignorance, who just behave whimsically, irresponsibly, they will go to animal life. The animal killers do not know that the future of the animals, in the future, the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. This is the law of nature. So if you are killing a goat now, next birth, that goat will become a lion, because mamsha means maamsha. Just like you are enjoying a part of my body now, I am now entitled, I am now qualified to enjoy your body. This is the meaning of the word mamsha. So we see so many miseries happening in this world because we have been a cause of misery to someone else. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is the son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant being killed. Now, suppose you have made a beautiful collage, a painting, no? And somebody comes and breaks it. How will you like it? And similarly, the Lord has created, even like if you see the body of a cockroach, it is a masterpiece. So many processes going on in that small body. It has legs, it has joints, such finesse. And somebody goes on, there is a purpose to making a cockroach, there is a purpose to making an ant, there is a purpose to making a termite. And somebody goes on destroying your creation. Will you like it? Will the Lord like it? No, he will not like it. So 17, from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance develops foolishness, madness, and illusion. So the clarity of thought emerges only in the mode of goodness. This is the crux. In mode of passion, you are bewildered. You are so carried out by your desires that your intellect is lost. The intellect to think clearly is like in some middle ground. And in mode of ignorance, it is completely lost. The power to think, to make discretions, to make the right choices, even think about, like, there are some people, who are alcoholics. And this suggests, they are associating with something in the mode of food also is in three categories: mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And the effect of food on our psyche is clearly demonstrated by intoxication. As soon as he associates with that food, half an hour later, he is not the same person. This is the effect of food on our psyche. He has lost all discrimination. There have been instances, like I think I heard in the colleges, my son's college, there was a person who was so heavily drunk, a student, that he went and slept on terrace, parapet, and in that intoxication, he just fell down from sixth floor and died. So this is what ignorance does to you. Foolishness. There was no need to get associated with something like that and lose precious human life. 17, from the mode of, so we have finished 17. 18, those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to hellish worlds. This I have already explained to you. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performers is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. So what is the condition for getting out of this Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi? You should be free from these material modes, influences of their material modes. That is possible only when you are situated in transcendence. Transcendence means Shuddha Sattva. And only Lord's service and activities related to the Lord are in Shuddha Sattva because He is beyond the material modes. So we must associate with Him more. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting the spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science and activities in terms of modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, and how he is entrapped. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. For example, there is a snake. It is in mode of ignorance, a live form, and he is forced to behave like that. He has to crawl on the earth. Does he have a choice? He doesn't have a choice. And why is he in that field of activity? Because of his past association with the mode of ignorance. He's forced into that body. So actually the living entity is not the performer of different activities. How he is not the performer of different activities? Because when he associates with a particular mode, he is forced to perform activities as per that. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position. And by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. 20. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and disease, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So, people who choose service of the Lord, they're most intelligent, because service comes in your life when your likes and dislikes vanish, and your intellect, your all your nine gates are illuminized by knowledge. You understand what I like, what I don't like is because of the modes of material nature. This particular mode is forcing you. So what he does, he says no to the modes and goes and engages in service of the Lord intelligently. Arjuna inquired, "O my dear Lord, by which system is one known who is transcendent to all these modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature?" And now Arjuna is asking, what? Okay, if somebody has actually transcended these modes of material nature, what are his systems? One, so he's asking is, explain what is transcendentalist. He's asking is, actually there are two questions in this. He's asking, what are the symptoms? And what is his behavior? Two. And how does he transcend the modes of nature? Three actually. So the Lord explains, he is free from hankering and envy, being indifferent to their pushings. So there are 6 types of pushing that we have. Vegam, Vega means pushing. Vacho Vegam, Mana Krodha Vegam, Va Vegam, Uda Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dhira, Sarvam Apimam Chitrinsa System. So there are 6 pushings. Vacho Vegam means the push to speak. You remain quiet, there is a natural push to speak out your mind. Manasa Vegam, your mind is forcing you to think, it's going on, you cannot control it. Manasa, pushing of the mind is there. Even though you don't want to go in that direction, the mind will push you. Krodha, anger. Suddenly somebody says something to your external body, you are looking ugly, you become angry. There is no need to react. What will happen if a person thinks something, he writes a book on you in his house, how does it matter to you? Why should you let that person, let him affect your psyche? krodha, jivva, in eating. We cannot control the urge to eat. The hunger will be born naturally. It's a pushing, natural pushing. Udarrupastha vegam. Udar is hunger, stomach. Upastha, genitals. They force us to act in a certain way. These are natural pushing. Udarrupastha vegam. The, like, you have to pass stool. It is a natural force. You cannot stop it. It will come. So these are the Vegas. So a person who is in knowledge, he will not be pushed by his Vegas. He will have the intelligence to know how to, like you see, the dogs, cats, they have to pass through. Of course, we also do not have complete control though, but to a large extent, we can. So the Supreme Lord is summing up the symptoms. O son of Pandu, in 22, he who does not hate illumination, he is open to gaining knowledge, attachment and delusion when they are present, or longs for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well and who has all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So this is a very detailed, but we can only mention in this class. These are the qualities. So what is his behavior? Then the Lord answers that in the next sloka, 23 to 25. He is equally disposed and sees everything equal because he has realized that he has nothing to do with the material existence. Such a person never acts whimsically. Rather, in full surrender to Lord, aloof from the modes, he executes his Krishna consciousness duties with fixed determination. So he knows by now that all this work, activities that I have done so far, it is a waste of time. It is going to further bind me to the material plane. I do not want
Maataji, your voice is not audible.
the Lord, because only service or acting on behalf of the Lord gets to Hare Krishna. Can you all hear me now? There was a
Yes,
glitch.
Mataji.
Yeah. So here the Lord is explaining one who engages in full devotional service unfalling in all circumstances at once transcends the modes of nature. So this is the process. So that is why, Srila Prabhupada, many times they say, what will happen by making so many temples? So with the help of these temples, we can engage people in so many services directly in service of Lord. And only here, as per Bhagavad Gita, the transcendental, here the word, avyabhicharini is very significant. Avyabhicharini, mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa guna samastityan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. What does this mean? Here, Charani is a woman actually who thinks of another man also, this is not good. So, a deity is one who only tended to only to the, they left their husbands, wife, children, everybody, and they came to serve Krishna. On material ground, it may sound, but on spiritual grounds, a soul, all these relationships that we have in the material world, they are due to cumulative karma. You share a field of activity because of some common, association in the past. Maybe you are in the same mode of material nature. Usually when you get married, they match gunas to see what the inclinations of the bride and bridegroom are. Because if they are not uh, equally inclined spiritually, there will be a change in their temperaments and the area of their activities. And the relationship will not work. Common interest. So the Srila Prabhupada used to always say, a family that prays together stays together. Because they are all uh, equal in spiritual inclinations, that family will stay together. But if everybody in the family, one is in Tamogun, one is in Rajogun, one is in Sattvagun, then like Ravan, Vibhishana and Kumbhakarna, they will have different destinations in the same house. So one who engages in full devotional service, unfalling in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of the Brahman. And I am the basis of the Brahman, the last phase. He will transcend the Mahatattva, the material sky, and come to Brahman, which is the spiritual sky. And I am the source of Brahman. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amratasya vasya cha shasvatasya cha dhamasya sukhasya kanti kasya cha akanti kasya cha, ultimate. So the Lord has described the process, how these material modes are binding us and how we can get out of them. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. The Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. It is not the end, it is the beginning. So a person, he elevates from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to Brahman conception of the Supreme. This attainment of Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. It is the beginning. of your spiritual journey, transcending the material modes. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service, should be practiced in association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental loving service. So what we do in this lifetime is practice. Because suppose without practice, even by magic, if you go to the Vaikuntha sky, the Vaikuntha look, you will not be able to stay there, because desire is the criteria. After some time, you will get bored in Vaikuntha hearing about the Lord, because the activities in Vaikuntha are all centered around the Lord. They are all centered around the Lord. You have to hear about him, you have to see his form, you have to smell his flowers, you have to make prasadam, you know, you have to offer. All these activities are only there. So if you don't have any inclination towards these activities, how will you stay there for long? Even people who go up to Brahman realization, they fall down, because they have not developed taste for devotional service. Maybe by meditation, if they transcend the Mahatattva also, what will they do there if they don't have taste for these activities? So that has to be cultivated here itself in association of devotees. So this is the process of transcending the modes of material nature. And the best way is, his reciprocation of love, by always chanting vibrations Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And observe fasting days commemorating the appearance and disappearance of the Lord and his devotees. By following such processes, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti, or different varieties of the Brahman conception, is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality, not quantity. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of 3 modes of material nature. So we come to the end of this chapter today. Any questions or comments about the chapter?
Hello, ma'am.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just now you said about reciprocating the love. One is enchanting Hare Krishna, and what was other?
Maataji, engaging in devotional service. The 9 processes of devotional service we have to engage in. Chanting is one of them. Like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. I think audio some disturbance. So there are 9 processes of devotional services. Chanting of holy name is only one. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So any of these 9 processes, if you take 2, slowly the effect of these material modes will decrease, and you will become disinterested in material activities, and your taste in spiritual activities will develop. You will develop spiritual desires, and the desires will change the course, destination, and the course of your action. So whatever we do in life, you should have actually there are 12 Mahajanas. Mahajana is a person who knows how to dovetail his activities for the ultimate purpose, of realizing God. So the 12 Mahajanas are there. They know perfectly well, like how to serve God in most oddest of circumstances. We cannot give an excuse. Shabri Mata was born in a low-born family, some cannibals, tribes, they were tribes, and she, because of her previous birth, had this transcendental knowledge. She was a queen in her previous birth. But as a queen, she wouldn't get time for her bhakti yoga, to practice. She was in knowledge. But because the kingdom, being a queen, the king was in the mode of passion, she was dragged to the activities of this passion, fruitive activities. Do this yagya, do that yagya, to get this, to get that, and that would take away all her time. So once, with the king, she goes to Ganga to for some ritual, and she gives up her body there. She's so frustrated that no matter what I do, I'm not getting out of this sphere of activities. Oh Ganga Mai, if I'm true in my spiritual knowledge, I want to leave this body. I don't want this kingdom. I don't want these activities. She gives up her body. Next verse, she is born as Shabri Mata. Again, she is the princess of a tribe, but tribals. One must wonder how. And when she's getting married, she becomes young. And a night before her marriage, she sees 100 goats tied down outside their, house. And she asked, why did you get these 100 goats? So they said, we are going to perform sacrifice. Because marriage, people think, is a license to enjoy. But when you enjoy like that, the order as per Varnashrama is that you should take up some responsibility also. So to overcome that, sacrifices are performed, offerings to various demigods. You are indebted to this, you are indebted to that, like that. So she thinks at that time, her spiritual consciousness is revived. So just for enjoying some things in life, why should these 100 living beings forego their life? A moment of realization. And she leaves home. She remembers everything of her past, that I have finished my spiritual journey. She just puts a rope, walks down from her house, goes away into the forest. And there she goes outside the ashrams of sages. And because she's untouchable, a tribal woman, they never let her inside the ashram. She alone, visits these ashrams, and she hears. And there, they are talking all this spiritual knowledge, and she performs a devotional service like that. She gets so purified of her material desires that Lord Sri Ram personally comes. Then later on, I think Mandaka Muni, I think Makan Muni, yeah, he he guides her spiritually. Uh, I think it is Makan Muni. So and then Lord Makan Muni, yes. Then Lord Ram, he comes and finally gives her the lesson of Navada Bhakti before he liberates her. So just by engaging in this devotional service, you get all the realizations. You are free from the modes of material nature. Any one of the processes also, and chanting the holy name, hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord are most powerful. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, one more thing about the story of Indra. Then how he again came back to in Swargalok after
He
becoming.
doesn't come back. See, Indra is a designation. There are different Indras. Anybody who performs 1,000 Ashwamedh Yajna, they can become Indra. Agni also is only a designation. It's not that they are eternal beings. In one Manvanantar, somebody is Indra. In the second Manvanantar, somebody else is Indra. Like that, all the stories that you hear, they are in different time periods. So they will tell you in the Manvanantar of this Swayambhuva Manu or this Manu, there are different Manus, you know. There are different Prajapatis in different yugas. So you can lose that designation of Indra also. No matter, even when he gets, you know, association of a devotee like Narad Muni, he refuses to take his association. So whoever is the Indra, the Brahaspati guides him spiritually. Like you see in Rakshasas, the Guru is Shukracharya. And he will guide Bali Maharaj, he will guide Prahlad Maharaj. When Prahlad Maharaj becomes king, he will guide him. When Bali Maharaj becomes king, he will guide him. When Hiranyakashipu was king, he was guiding him. For what? Material development. Shukracharya basically awards material sense gratification. And Brahaspati, he elevates you spiritually. So they say, you know, a person in the Kundali also, this star is good, that star is good. If this star is good, he will enjoy this, enjoy that. All this is there. They say, you know, if a person's, all the stars are, you know, bad, but Guru is good, he will realize the purpose of life. Because his Guru is very strong. He will take him out from any difficult situation. But if a person's Guru is weak and all other material stars are good, he will fall down. Because no matter how much material happiness he gets, he will still not be able to get out of the cycle of birth and death because he knows he doesn't have a strong Guru. So Indra, I don't know what happened to him later, but Indra is only a designation.
Yes, I got it, man. Then one more doubt I had about killing animals. Then suppose when there are ants and all, we kill them because it doesn't look good in our house. So what is that supposed to be? I mean, we shouldn't do that.
Actually, Srila Prabhupada would never recommend that. Like, you know, once in a temple, there were lots of rats. And the devotees, they were so disturbed. Actually, we should not kill, but sometimes it becomes inevitable. So the devotee said, now you say don't kill pests, and now there are so many rats. Sometimes they're chewing away the rice. So you know what Srila Prabhupada did? He said, go and get 2 cats and leave them in the temple. Nature will take care. So actually, Srila Prabhupada recommended that, you know, you maintain cleanliness. If you maintain cleanliness, there are certain herbs which are available, you know, which are anti-repellent. Like neem is there, smoke of certain plants is there. So that is why you must keep your house very clean all the time. Why do pests come? Because of lack of cleanliness, some kind of, you know, especially food, if it is left in open and all that, mosquitoes, pests, if it is not clean, they come.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes it is inevitable. So maintain so much cleanliness that they don't come and you don't. In fact, in one of the lectures, I heard that even if you don't intend to kill ants and animals, no, even without your knowledge, when you are breathing, also you are killing organisms. So you will incur 30,000 sins without your knowledge also in 20 years time. Even if you are completely in knowledge, this plane is like that. So that is why you must don't tell your life, like why they say offer food stuff, even vegetarian food stuff also has contamination. That is why you must offer it to Lord first, so that He takes over, He purifies that food of all the sins. You're killing ants, it is inevitable here. But consciously one must, I see some children, they see an ant, and they just crush it up. That will take away this quality of compassion from you. Okay, you cannot do anything, you're cleaning the house, something gets killed, but willingly you should not. Keep the house so clean. Use herbs, yeah, that will help. Willingly don't plan killing, If it's inevitable, what can you do? So any more questions? So I think for now we will end here. I'm sorry, but for 2 days I'll not be available. So after that, we will resume the classes on 12th of May. So till then, Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuba Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnavim Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Ma'am,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
you will be out for 9th and 10th, right?
Yes, yes.
But we can resume the class on 11th, right?
Yes, 11. You are right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
In the message also I received it's 12th.
I will again put a message. Mataji will resume on 11.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Mataji,
Mataji.
Thank you,
for
Mataji.
this,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we have group for this class.
We don't have a group, we have a broadcast. Broadcast means I will have everybody's number and we post the message together to everybody. So even there are 100 people, 100 messages go together. Because this is, we don't know, from all walks of life, people are coming, they may or may not like to give their numbers to others. But if you want to associate, it's okay. Like if Rashmi Mataji wants to associate with Archana Mataji and she doesn't have a problem, then I will give her. We can make a small group if you all agree, and we can exchange thoughts, ask questions.
Yes, Mataji, we can do that.
Yeah, at least for those who don't mind, then we can add. So we will do that shortly, and before that I'm waiting for your testimonials eagerly. Please do that. So till then, Hare Krishna.